W
T L.
It's time! W
T L.
I think we got a show. Oh yeah, we got a show. W
T L.
And welcome back, everybody, to WTL. Where's the Line? Nebraska's first and only sports betting show. I'm your host, Andy Klessen, joined by
Jabron.
the Parlay Pounder.
You got it. We're back.
Yes, we are. And, we're getting into the dog days of summer here.
We are.
And, what better time than to talk NFL?
That's the only time to talk about it, I think.
Now, tomorrow, yesterday, it is
every
always,
day, all day.
It is always time for that freight train that is the NFL. Well, odds have come out over divisional winners.
Yeah.
And we got to get right into it here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the NFC South.
You're speaking to me.
Yes, we are, and you're Carolina Panthers, and I guess if you want to be a dreamer, a dreamer and a believer, you can't get better odds, and if that's where you want to start, 1,500?
Yeah, if you want really good odds, bet on the Carolina Panthers, Andy. No, this just looks like, the bottom line for the Carolina Panthers is the one positive in Carolina is also one of the biggest negatives is that they have their quarterback, but we don't know if he's good yet. And we don't know if we have a good enough offensive line to protect him.
Yeah.
It's just one of those, revolving doors right now. So I think he does have the talent. I think he will develop a lot more in the second year. But, doesn't look well for the Panthers this year. Probably finish fourth in the division, maybe squeak out 2 games.
He did get dinged up last year, and it felt like everyone just spoke that into existence. And that was the big harp was he's too small of a guy. He doesn't have a big enough body frame, all these things. And then he did get hurt, and you heard all the told you so, told you so. I never understood that, why so many NFL teams will draft these young guys, and whether they're ready or not, they'll throw them out through a patchwork offensive line. Rebuilding, total rebuild. They lost their coach, right? He went somewhere.
No doubt.
It's just a very tough scenario there for year 2 and Bryce Young in Carolina, and I wouldn't even waste a sprinkle. I wouldn't even look at this as far as being a divisional winner here.
Yeah, no, definitely not, Andy. I'm not looking at over-under on wins or anything on the Carolina Panthers this year. I'm just going to be a hopeful fan, stay away from it, hope they develop. If they get 5 or 6 wins, great. If they don't, we're not expecting too much this year.
And like so many divisions in the NFL, nobody stays on top for very long.
No.
And the NFC South, before Tom Brady, was just a revolving door. Every year was somebody new. Every year was somebody new. And this brings us to, let's just work our way up from bottom to top on up. And this is where it gets interesting for me. The New Orleans Saints are at a plus 350. That slots them in the 3rd position there in the NFC South. I like Derek Carr. I always have. He led them to a winning record last year, and not many people were, counting them for anything. And they just missed the playoffs for the first time in 5 or 6 years, something like that. I would not be surprised if they make it back to the playoffs, just maybe not win the division, but that 350 odds, that might be the best bet in this division.
Yeah, I think I don't think it's the best bet, Andy. I don't think you're too far off. Like you said, Derek Carr led them to 9-8 last year, 4-2 in the division, which is the big number that stands out there, Andy. Ended the season with back-to-back wins over the Bucs and the Falcons. Can they carry this momentum into the season? I think that there's a chance they can. It's just I really have them as the second place in this division.
Okay, so you still have them punching up, outperforming their where they're slated right now.
Correct. I still believe that they're the second best team in this division, Andy. So I don't like them, winning the division or anything like that. You might want to look at their wins. I think they have them over 7.5 right now. I believe that's probably a good bet. So that's what I would look in there. I don't have them win the division. You have to go one more notch up for me. The second place here, according to the odds, is who I think is going to take home the cake.
In the draft, they address their offensive line. They got that offensive tackle at Oregon State, Fuga. And then I think they got the best name in round 2 at cornerback, Kool-Aid McKinstry.
Yeah, he
Alabama.
is, and he's fast.
And he's very fast. Cornerback, he's definitely going to have a direct impact right away.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they had to, in the 5th round, get Spencer Rattler.
Had to.
He's always a headline maker, and I don't ever know, what is he doing? What is Spencer Rattler doing?
Just going to college for 9 years and then transferring school 3 times and then gets drafted by the New Orleans Saints. So
cool.
That's what he's doing.
That's what he's doing.
From what I'm hearing, your best bet would probably be the New Orleans Saints making the playoffs, which is at a plus 170 right now.
Okay.
Even to take down a wild card spot. So
They're
plus
due.
170 for the New Orleans Saints, probably your best bet on that one.
They're due, and I do like the Saints, and somehow Derek Carr, no matter what hand he is dealt, he figures it out. Even in Oakland. He would win games in Oakland.
Even in Fresno State.
Even at Fresno State, he was winning games. All right, let's move on up to a team that everyone knows a lot about, who won the division last year, but they're not getting the respect this year. Well, 2 of those were under Tom Brady.
Yep.
And we're talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. However, Baker Mayfield, another guy that I kind of like.
Yeah.
I kind of like Baker and his attitude and this and that and whatever else. He did win the division, went 4-2 as well.
Yeah, went 4-2 in the division, Andy. And what I think is going to carry a lot of momentum into this season, upsetting the Philadelphia Eagles in the wild card round of the playoffs.
Yep,
a lot of people weren't ready for Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans to put on the show that they did. I really believe as they brought Mike Evans back, extended deal this coming year, I think it's going to be a really good fantasy combo with Baker and Mike Evans.
That. Yeah, I like that.
And I just think this is the most bang for your buck right now, Andy, is for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to win the NFC South at a plus 295 on DraftKings right now. I love that value.
Yep.
A division winner last year. There's no question marks of new quarterback, new scheme, new coach, any of that stuff. It's Baker's show now, and they're going to let him have the reins, and they got their all-star Pro Bowl wide receiver coming back on extended guaranteed money.
And I know Mel Kiper Jr. Gave them a grade B for their draft, but I love their draft. They got that Graham Barton, the number 1 ranked center in the first round. That's going to help out.
Baker.
Yeah, and he's not that tall of a guy, so Baker can see over top of him. I do believe Baker does deserve a lot of the shade that he does receive.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean?
He's controversial. He always has been.
But when he has a guy like Mike Evans, he's going to feed him.
Yeah.
And that's such a weird double-edged sword to me, where it's like, well, he's so predictable, he's just going to throw it to Mike Evans. And then if he doesn't, it's like, well,
why don't you throw it to Mike Evans?
You got a playmaker. You got to feed the outside. You got to get to the outside, and you're not doing it. So Baker's always drew that. I feel like it's an unfair, type of a
if you act like that and you don't conform to the rules and everything, they're going to come against you. It's kind of like Mike Evans' first quarterback, Johnny Manziel at Texas A&M.
Yeah.
He has a little bit of that. One of my best bets, Andy, for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I believe is free money right now. Plus 125 is over 8.5 wins. I believe even if they don't win the division, if somebody even gets out ahead of them a little bit, I do believe that they will have 9 wins and they're going to make the playoffs. So I love the over 8.5 wins at plus 125 right now for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I do believe they'll win the division, so take that plus 295 on my side.
Yeah.
But if you want to scale back a little bit and
plus
you just
125.
plus 125 for over 8.5 wins.
You know, we talked about how the Buccaneers went 4-2 last year in the division. So did the team behind them. Went 4-2. I don't think both of those teams. I wouldn't be surprised if the Saints do well. I wouldn't be surprised if Tampa Bay. Can they both go 4-2 again when we're going to get to who's actually slated here to win the division?
I do believe so.
Too many wins, right, in one division to go around.
So, Andy, because I believe this is one of the stinkers of the entire NFL season.
Oh, boy, here we go.
I believe these Atlanta Falcons, who are sitting in the top spot, like you just said, Andy.
Minus 125.
Minus
not even
125. First of all, this guy's never played for the Atlanta Falcons before in his life, never played it down with any of these guys. He's coming off a huge injury in this team. Sucks. I think this team sucks. I think this team is just as bad as the Carolina Panthers, Andy. I wouldn't be surprised if they only win 2 games in the division, maybe against the Carolina Panthers.
I mean, they got Bijan Robinson. They got a good running back, right? They got some speed and talent on a receiver, and it doesn't matter. And that was a luxury Kirk Cousins had in Minnesota. Justin Jeffries and
Jefferson,
Jefferson, sorry. But I also think Kurt doesn't get a lot of credit for that.
Maybe.
He would throw the ball to him quite often, and he'd also give him the benefit of the doubt. He would throw a lot of 50-50 balls his way, and he was paid off for it.
He definitely was.
He was paid off for it. I think you're going to see a dip in Minnesota, obviously, and I think you're going to see a rise in Atlanta. I thought Atlanta, for all the heat that they caught for their draft, I thought it made perfect sense to catch that heat. Like, why would you bring in Kirk Cousins to just turn around and move up to pick up another quarterback who's injury prone?
Yeah.
From Washington, Penix Jr. I love Penix Jr.
I love Penix Jr.
And I'm in his bowl game, the lack of performance and all that stuff, that doesn't scare me as far as the draft pick.
No.
What does is his injury history of injuries, but more than that, you already spent a bunch of money to bring. You already addressed that.
Yeah.
You know, so where both Tampa Bay and the Saints went out in the first round and got big, heavy, athletic offensive linemen. What are the Atlanta Falcons doing?
They really could have helped out Kirk. They really could have helped out their defense, offensive line, whatever they wanted to do. But no, I think in the back of the Atlanta Falcons' mind, they think Kirk's going to get hurt again. I really do believe that.
Then why pay him?
Why pay him? I don't know. I'm just saying I think this is one of the dumpster fires of the whole entire NFL season, and that's why I'm putting a bunch of money on under 9.5 wins for the Atlanta Falcons at a plus 115 right now.
Okay.
I believe that is one of the best bets, if not the best bet in the NFC South this year. I do not like the Atlanta Falcons. I love Kirk. I hope he does well, but I just don't see it this year with this team in this division. I get that it's wide open, but I have two guys here that I think have been in the division for a long time, know how it works, all that kind of stuff, and Kirk's going to come in without the weapons that he's usually used to having, trying to throw it to Kyle Pitts every single down, and it's not going to work for him.
Yeah. You packed a lot in there, and I do like. And you addressed the question I had for you. If Tampa Bay is going to go over 8.5, if the Saints are going to go over 8, where are these wins going to come from? You're saying the Falcons aren't going to get there.
Falcons are a bomb,
and they could still have a nice season, go 9-8.
Maybe
the hook. They're not going to get to 9.5, you're saying.
They ain't going to get to 10 wins. I'll tell you that.
So to me, it sounds like you're thinking the Buccaneers. For the conference.
For the championship.
For the division.
Division champs.
That makes a lot of sense. It really does. You heard the horn. That means we're up against it, but let's take a quick minute to recognize one of our fabulous partners, and that is the Stock and Rod Company, an outdoor lifestyle brand for those seeking adventure. Whether it's hunting, fishing, hiking, they got you covered. Visit stockandrod.com to get your wild game on. Don't go anywhere. This is WTL. And welcome back, everybody, to WTL. You know what that stands for. Where's the line? Nebraska's first and only sports betting show. I'm your host, Andy Classen, joined by
Jabron.
Oh, the Parlay Pounder.
You got it.
And we got to continue what we're doing here.
Yeah.
We got to talk divisional winners because these odds have come out. There's been chatter. There's been talk. Now we got to set it all straight.
Yeah.
Put that Midwestern, that Nebraska lean to it. Because we don't have an NFL team. We have a clear mind. We can approach this rationally.
Yeah.
And that's what we intend to do here, talking NFC West.
Yeah.
This division has been won by the 49ers a couple of times here.
Yeah.
They look to be way out in front once again, minus 190, minus 200, which, wow. But that's where it's at. But let's start from the bottom up here. Let's go down, and I believe this is a wild card team. This is a tough one to kind of predict. That's the Arizona Cardinals at a plus 1,300. That means you bet $10, you can win 140.
Yeah.
Defend, the vigorous and all that stuff, 140 on a $10 bet. Is there anything to look at? Kyler Murray is supposed to be back and healthy. That's where this all comes into focus, where how good is Murray going to be?
Yeah, I mean, we have seen flashes from him before that shows that he could be an elite quarterback, obviously, in this league. But, it kind of seemed like even the last time that he was healthy, Andy, He felt kind of disengaged. He was kind of out of it.
Yeah.
Kind of didn't, think there's good enough pieces around him.
He went 3-5 last year before that devastating injury.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I don't believe it just because I believe that the Rams, Seahawks, and 49ers really know how to play defense against this guy and have really sussed him out and really stopped him from doing what he likes to do, scrambling around and figuring out, the open spots and all that kind of stuff. He actually has to play quarterback against these teams.
Yep.
I think they could win 1 or 2 in the division, but I think that's as far as it goes. They were 0-6 last year, I believe.
Yes, they were. They didn't win a divisional game.
They didn't win a divisional game, and I don't see any hope for them this year.
Yeah.
And I really don't like Kyler coming off an injury.
Yeah.
I guess you could throw it in there if you want him comeback player of the year. Maybe you can take that for some plus money, but that ain't going to happen either. So nothing on the Arizona Cardinals for me.
Yeah, I don't like the worst to first narrative. I don't think so either. I don't think we need to spend much more time on them.
Yeah.
And you made a great point there. These defenses are too good. The coaches are too good in this division, and they have figured out where they keep a spy in on him at all times, and they force him, like you said, to play quarterback. Even if he breaks pocket, there's still 2 safeties over the top saying, try it. Try and put that ball in the air, see what happens.
Please do.
Yep.
Please do.
So I don't see any wiggle room there to give Arizona any type of love on this division.
Andy, when you're looking at the odds for them for wins is over under 6.5. That's pretty tough. So you're not going to be able to win a division even if you exceed your over under by 4 games because the winner of this division will have 10 plus easily.
Yeah, that's just the way it's been going in the NFC as of late. Yep. So let's move on up the ranks here in the 3-hole, the Seahawks. This is another team that I feel it's kind of like it's going to be a fun team to watch.
Yeah.
They're at plus 650 right now. Is Geno Smith going to keep ascending, or is he leveled out? Has he plateaued?
Yeah.
Is he going to show people that he's just a veteran quarterback that's serviceable? Where are the Seahawks at? And once again, we're talking about quarterback, but so much hinges on that QB spot in the NFL.
Yeah, exactly, Andy. That's where it all goes. It's like it seems like they're going to run it back with Geno. Obviously, in 35 starts for the Seahawks over the last 3 seasons, Smith has gone 18-17, as mediocre as you can get. Seattle finished 2-4 in the division last season, with its 2 wins coming against the lowly Cardinals. Who finished 4-13 overall. I did like what I saw out of obviously Geno when he first got there, pep in his step, all that kind of stuff. But I do feel like that they've kind of outwarmed their welcome with this move. I felt like it was a 1-year thing. If he's MVP caliber, great. But no, you were trying to buy years to get a draft pick to make a huge move, and you haven't done that.
Well, they made some moves, and I think they kind of got back to the roots. They got that big defensive lineman in the first round, 16th overall pick, Byron Murphy out of Texas. A lot of talent, super fast. And then their third pick, they got Trice Knight out of UTEP, a linebacker, a very athletic linebacker. So I think they're getting back to Seahawk football, that whole shtick. And in the third round, they got an offensive lineman out of Connecticut. So they're trying to help Geno while staying true to who they are, a defensive-minded team. I really like their draft, and I would not be surprised if they're able to maybe work up this division, but I'm hearing so much talk about the LA Rams and how they're back.
This division is a little top-heavy with 1 and 2 head monsters. Obviously, Super Bowl champion. Both have been in the Super Bowl in past years. One thing I did want to say about the Seahawks, Andy, a fun little bet that you can find on your book right now is the QB to play Week 1 snap. Geno's sitting all the way at minus 700, so there's not a lot of value there. But if Sam Howell, they picked up Sam Howell from the Redskins, the Commanders, and he's at a plus 450 right now. If he shows them something in camp, if he shows them something in preseason, this guy is 2 years into the league and can really move the needle. We saw him in the Commanders. He can push the ball down the field and he can put up fantasy stats. So if they think this is their guy going forward, they could just let him start. So you can get a plus 450 bet right there if you really believe in Sam Howell. I believe it's more than a good look.
Yeah.
So I think that they should probably make a move. I'm not saying anything against Gino or anything, but you have to shake it up if you want to win in this league. And Sam Howell might be the guy.
Yeah, I mean he's got a big arm. And Gino's at that minus 700. What was Howell at?
Yeah, plus 450.
Plus 450. Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, all he has to do is have one good start in the preseason, and that might be enough to pull the trigger on that.
And just Gino for something to happen to him in camp, or just getting a bad attitude if they start showing start showing stuff towards Sam Howell. So I just think it's probably not very likely.
Right.
I'm just saying it could happen because he is a starting quarterback in the NFL, has been before, and Gino always has to have his eyes on his back.
Keep that one in your back pocket.
Let's go.
If you're hearing good things out of camp, maybe think about that.
Yeah.
All right, let's move up to the Rams. Okay, the big talk is, AD retired. Aaron Donald has retired, but the Rams turned around and addressed that. The very first pick in the draft for them, the 19th overall, Jared Verse, defensive end, out of Florida State, to keep that pressure, keep that defensive line up and healthy. And I was listening to the radio yesterday, and all the talk was about look out for the Rams, look out for the Rams. That might be a little bit of 49er fatigue.
Yeah.
But there's also, I think, a lot of validity to what's being said about these Los Angeles Rams.
Well, yeah, you can't. The one thing you can't just look past the Rams at is because they do beat the 49ers every year at least once.
Yeah.
They went 5-1 in the division last season, but lost the tiebreaker to the San Francisco 49ers overall record.
Yep.
The Rams have their, like you said, star quarterback, star receiving quarterback.
Yep.
Aaron,
Cup's back. He's healthy.
Exactly. So this is definitely, if you were looking for any value in the divisional bets, it would definitely be this.
Plus 350 is what I'm looking at.
Plus 350.
Yep.
But I just can't see anybody looking over the San Francisco 49ers. They are just built so well right now to win right now, and they're not thinking about the division, Andy.
No.
They're thinking about the frickin' Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah, so, they're thinking about making a run, and in order to get the home field and all those things, they do have to win their division.
They do.
Right? That's just something that comes along with it.
Yeah.
Another value bet might just be Rams make the playoffs.
Exactly.
Because I feel there are some very weak, and we talked about them beforehand, weak teams
divisions.
in the NFC teams.
Yeah.
Right? And that's where the Rams can steal a spot now.
Plus 100 right now. So
there you go. Plus money.
Plus money right now for the Rams. They still have a very good roster, like you said. Tried building it up through the draft, made some good moves, and they got Star Stafford, Star Cup back in the lineup.
Yep.
I believe it's going to be a pretty good season for them, but these guys above them are going to be a number one seed in the NFC.
Yeah, Stafford can still spin it. He can sling it, and he'll be fine. And if he got this guy back, Cooper Kupp at 100% health, that's what we're hearing. Should be another offensive explosion type of year. Yep. All right, let's talk about the 49ers.
Yeah.
Minus 190 is what I'm looking at here, way out in front. And why wouldn't they be? Brock Purdy he's not Mr. Irrelevant anymore. They like to talk about that a lot. It's kind of funny. It's like every year we have to say Tom Brady was a fifth rounder. Nah, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, we get it.
We're beyond that, aren't we?
Yeah.
One thing that is interesting with the 49ers, what's the latest you heard with Ayuk?
I think he's in. I think
so too.
I think he's playing for the 49ers, obviously.
Yeah.
Probably not going to be happy about it, but once they start winning every single game, I think he's going to be really happy.
He'll be all right with that?
Yeah, no. I just don't think, I know that he's a good player and I know he's a good receiver, but I still don't think he, distanced himself as, a top-tier talent in the NFL that deserves a huge payday or anything like that. I believe maybe that could happen with Debo and CMC be behind Purdy a little bit more, but you have to show that you can be that number one slot receiver, and he hasn't shown that to me yet.
It's almost the 49ers are so creative on offense, and they have so many versatile guys like Debo Samuel, like George Kittle.
Yeah.
I mean, he's such a great blocker. You forget about him as a receiver.
Yeah.
Then he rips a big one off on you, and now you got two linebackers spying on him, and Ayuk slips up this. I mean, that's what happens so many times with the 49ers, those big plays, and they happen because they're so versatile with all those guys. We haven't even mentioned Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, CMC.
CMC. And I do think that helps Ayuk out so much so, and
Yeah.
Man, he's got to understand that. His leadership, his management, his agents, they got to understand that too. I think, like you said, after they get 4 or 5 wins under their belt, he's going to be like, you know what, this isn't that bad of a deal.
No, I really do. And I do believe a deal will get done with the 49ers. So I think that's fine. The plus money in this division for me, if you want to go division winner, you have to go with the LA Rams to make something crazy happen.
Yep.
But if I'm betting in this division, Andy, I'm putting all my money on the San Francisco 49ers to win the Super Bowl at plus 600 right now. Or if you want even more money, Christian McCaffrey to win NFL MVP at plus 4,000. They skipped over him last year. If he keeps putting up numbers like he did last year, it's going to be hard for them to look past it again and again and again. And it seems like this team is just in his sweet spot. Lets him take plays off, brings him in when he wants to score touchdowns.
Right.
It seems like they got a little sweet spot for him. Other than Carolina Panthers running him into the ground every single play, So it seems like he's in a really good mode with these guys. But maybe Offensive Player of the Year would be a better one, and he's plus 700 for that.
Plus 700, I like that. And he's gonna have those big chunk plays, those big highlight plays.
No doubt.
Even when he only has like 80 yards rushing, that usually comes with 2 touchdowns, 1 receiving.
One receiving. Yeah, so no, that's what I like. I think the San Francisco 49ers are going to be back in the playoffs, obviously, but I do believe they have a chance to win the Super Bowl this year better than anybody. So plus 600 for the 49ers, I believe, is a very, very good bet.
There we go. That's why they're far out in front to win the division. Jabron's not going to win the Super Bowl. With the 49ers. You heard the horn a moment ago. That means we're really up against it, but we got to take a minute to recognize one of our fabulous partners, and that is the Nebraska Brewing Company. World class in every glass. Don't go anywhere. This is WTL. And welcome back, everybody, to WTL. Where's the line? Nebraska's first and only sports betting show. I'm yours, Andy Klassen, joined by
Jabron.
We are getting right back.
Let's do it.
Into your wheelhouse.
Yes.
You've been talking about it forever, how June was going to be a banger.
We're here.
Of a month for the UFC.
Yes.
So let's start with June 1.
Yep.
Saturday night, UFC 302 in glitzy, glamorous Newark, New Jersey.
Heck yeah.
At the Prudential Center.
Yeah.
But that is going to draw a heck of a crowd.
Oh, no doubt about it.
And they're happy to be back there because the fanfare is always just off the hook out there on the East Coast in the greater New York metro area there. And Newark totally fits that. And we want to get right to that main card, don't we?
Definitely. The last 3 fights are star-studded, Andy.
Yeah.
5 of the biggest names in the UFC star-stud these last 3 fights, so that's where we should start.
All right, well, let's start with the middleweight bout. A couple really good middleweight bouts up and down this card. Kevin Holland, your 15th ranked contender, is taking on Michael Olkachuk out of Poland. The Polish pansy? No, he's not that. But he is coming off of a loss, but so is Kevin Holland.
No doubt.
And I feel like Holland really needs a win here. And if I'm just looking at the odds here, it's a minus 300, minus 290 Kevin Holland. It almost feels like the UFC is like, yes, this guy does need a win. Let's serve him up this guy.
Well, Andy, if you recall my last couple times that Kevin Holland has been on a card, I've been saying this is an absolute lock. He's going to get him. So I believe you're crazy if you lay this price on Kevin Holland. If you're taking this minus 300 for Kevin Holland, he treats his fights like sparring sessions most of the time. Yeah. And we've seen him lose last time to Michael Page and Wonderboy Thompson, where he just gave the fight away at the end, it looked like. I mean, he should win this fight, just like you're saying, Andy. He's the better striker. Oleg has a low ceiling with no ground game, so all signs point
to Holland. Yeah.
But I just can't pull the trigger at this price, Andy. If I was getting a little bit better odds, I would.
Yeah.
Holland's fights are not bettable to me at this point.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if you have to look at odds, Andy, you have to look at odds. You think Kevin Holland's going to win this. You probably think he's going to knock this guy out. That's sitting at a plus 240 right now. So I don't dislike the bang for the buck you're getting there. If I am looking at a piece of this fight that I'm going to put in my parlay at the end of the segment, it would be the over on rounds, over 1.5 rounds at minus 145 right now.
Yeah.
Kevin Holland is not going to start fast, and if he does finish him, I believe it's going to be in the third round. So over 1.5 rounds, I believe, is the best bet in this fight.
It does kind of feel like he's doing some weird thing, like boxers try to stick and move and dance around a lot. It does kind of feel like he thinks he's ahead in the bout, so he's just kind of bouncing around, and it allows the other guy to get points or however you want to say that.
Yeah,
and the Wonder Boy fight was
just terrible.
Yeah, it was bizarre.
Absolutely terrible.
It was bizarre.
He had the fight, and it was just bad. I mean, nope. I'm done talking about Kevin Holland.
Okay.
Over 1.5 rounds.
Well, let's move on up to another
big one. This is the big one for me.
This is a lot of fun. And this is your boy.
Yes.
The number one contender in the world, Sean Strickland.
Tarzan.
The American is taking on Paulo Costa, the number 7 contender out of this weight class. Another Brazilian. Good-looking man, by the way.
Very good-looking.
Oh, my God. He is chiseled. But he is your underdog at a plus 200. Strickland's looking at about a minus 250, minus 245. And I think these lines make a lot of sense.
For sure they do, Andy. First off, I have this creeping in the back of my neck, Andy, that I can just feel a Strickland letdown here, Andy.
No.
And I kind of like the Costa, plus money here, Andy.
Yeah.
And I've won quite a bit of money betting against Paulo Costa in the past, so this is kind of a new stance for me.
Much like the last two fighters, they're both coming off losses.
Exactly.
Somebody's got to come out on top here, right?
Exactly. And Strickland reached his peak, beating Adesanya, but Adesanya was ready for a letdown himself after that big Alex Pereira win. Then he lost to Duplessis right after beating Adesanya, and he said many times he fights for paychecks. So he's just there for paychecks. I don't know if he's put in a huge camp for this or anything. Costa looked much better in his last fight against Whitaker than I expected him to.
Yeah, okay.
But he has power. That's what I'm going to say about this fight. If you're betting on Paulo Costa, do the plus 300 to win by knockout, because that is what he's going to do if he wins this fight.
Yeah, and that's vintage Tarzan as well. He doesn't mind putting his chin out there and taking one.
For sure.
And a guy that's stacked like Costa, that might be lights out.
For sure. But the way that I'm really boiling this fight down to, Andy, is I believe that Strickland's cardio is going to be so much better than Costa. 5 rounds is too much for Paulo Costa to do.
Oh.
If this gets past 4, Paulo Costa, or even 3, I think Paulo Costa's done. So if Strickland can manage that distance with no problem, I like this fight to reach the 4th round. So over 2.5 rounds would be a solid bet for me, Andy. Yeah. But as much as I want to bet on Costa right now, I probably won't get there, and 5 rounds is too much for him. I think the bet here, Andy, is Sean Strickland to win by decision at a plus 150 right now.
Strickland has him in every metric, as far as reach. They both weigh 185, significant strikes. You mentioned the cardio. It's just when you look at the guy, you're like, what is this the guy at Costco that like brings the heavy stuff out?
It is.
I mean, that's the persona he kind of plays on.
What he likes to be known as.
Has a lot of fun. I will say he's making the rounds on podcasts.
For sure.
And he's opening up and all these other things. It's like, man, it's just like the Rocky movie, like Rocky 2. You're not paying, or Rocky 3. You're not paying attention to the fight.
Attention.
You're not.
You're out partying with Conor McGregor.
Yeah, you're partying with Conor McGregor. You need to be focused on this Brazilian dude, man.
Yeah, no, I do believe that when it comes fight time, he is going to be locked in, and I just think this is too much of a good fighter for Paulo Costa to take down just with heavy punches. So I do believe Strickland gets the decision. I believe it probably does go the distance, and Strickland gets it by decision.
All right, shall we move to the Main card,
event.
main event.
Let's do it.
The champion, the belt is with Islam Makhachev and Dustin Poirier, the Diamond.
Dustin Diamond.
Right place, right time, huh?
Yeah.
Armand turns down the fight.
Yep.
Who's willing to take it on short notice? Who wants to step up? Dustin Poirier is like, hey.
All the time, every time.
And he also opened up like, I don't want to be in this forever.
Yeah.
I don't want
might be one of my last chances to do it.
Yeah, and it even hinted at if I win this thing, I might be done. I might just retire.
Yeah, lay the gloves down.
And hand Dana White the belt back saying, thanks for the last shot. I got it. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
He is your number 4 contender in the world.
Yeah.
Don't get it twisted. He is a big underdog, though, at a plus 470, and for good reason. Islam... I don't know if you can poke too many holes in what he's been able to do lately.
I just think he's probably the best fighter in the UFC right now, Andy. There's not really a lot you can do to beat him. I think it's a pretty simple handicap here. Makhachev will dance around on his feet with Poirier until he sees an opening, pounce on him. Yeah. Once he gets his arms around Poirier, I don't see a lot for Dustin to be able to do.
Yeah.
You just have to like betting on these Khabib guys because they don't screw around. They see their path to victory, and you take their best path. So
he's 25-1.
Exactly. They don't get cute. They don't get fancy, and I don't think Islam wants to get into a striking match here with Poirier because Dustin can put him on his ass.
Yeah.
So I think he's really going to get to the ground quick and easy here, and Makhachev finish on the ground is what I'm seeing right now.
And I think Dustin knows that the only way he's going to win is if he can turn this into a boxing match. Stay on the feet. And Islam knows that as well.
Exactly.
And he's going to do everything he can to, like you said, pounce to strike or jump it and turn it in, get it to the mat because he doesn't want to stand there and trade blows with Dustin. Nobody wants to trade blows with Dustin Poirier.
No, we've seen it too many times, Andy. A lot of what this fight reminds me of, Andy, is Khabib versus Conor McGregor. A very, very good striker versus the best wrestler in the UFC, and that's what this is. You got to keep your distance from him, pick your shots, but at some point you're going to misstep, and he's going to get around you, and it's going to be over. Yeah. Anytime that a guy is Islam Makhachev to win by submission is minus 120 right now, Andy.
Oh, my God.
That is absolutely horrible.
Oh, wow.
But guess what? It's going in the parlay because it's going to happen. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, so that sounds like a best bet for you. Islam win by submission. Any type of value out there betting on the Diamond? Dustin Poirier. He's going to be a fan favorite. Newark loves him.
Yeah, no, he is. The place is going to be rocking for Dustin if he has a good game plan and all that. And he could catch him. This is the UFC. Anything can happen. Dustin Poirier to win by knockout plus 650 right now.
Like that.
So
I do like that.
Just throw a couple bucks on it though, Andy. You're not going to get rich betting on stuff like this because it's not going to happen. I want him to win. I love Dustin Poirier. I just don't see it happen. Islam is going to get him within the first 2 rounds, I believe. So do with that what you will. I do believe he's going to submit him, though.
All righty, Mr. Parlay Pounder.
Yeah.
You mentioned it. You got a parlay for this UFC 302?
I do, and I've spelled it out for you. I'm going with those 3 fights. I'm going Kevin Holland over 1.5 rounds. He's a slow starter. He does get the win, but over 1.5 rounds. I believe it gets into the third. Second piece of that, Sean Strickland to win by decision at a plus 150 over Paulo Costa.
All right.
Last one, Islam Makhachev to win by submission at a minus 120. I don't like it in there, but it's our best value play for this fight. Putting 25 on that to win 195. I believe it's still very good value with 3 things that I can see very easily happening at UFC 302.
It's a 3-legger, but they're all minus. If standalone, they're all minus money bets.
Except for Sean Strickland plus
Sean
115.
Strickland got you the plus 115, basically a coin toss.
Exactly.
Not that far out there.
Yeah.
But if you want to get that value, if you want to pump it up and actually get that payout, you got to take a plus money.
You got to take a plus money. So if you want to throw Paulo Costa in there at plus 300 or Dustin Poirier, go ahead. I just don't think that those things are going to happen.
Right.
Like I said, Kevin Holland over 1.5 rounds, Sean Strickland by decision, Islam Makhachev by submission, 25 to win 195.
There we go, 195. Can't argue it. Let's take a minute to recognize one of our fabulous partners, and that is the Nebraska Brewing Company. And now that we're into the summertime, we got a summertime brew that we've been enjoying, and that is the Squeeze of the Day. Their Lemon Rattler Wheat Ale, made with real lemons. Not like those knockoffs from
Nothing
those
but
other
the best.
breweries. There you go. The official beer of the Nebraska Marathon.
There you go.
So, yeah, and, I'm never going to run a marathon. I have no intention to, but I will enjoy a squeeze of the day.
If I were going to run a marathon, I would drink that beer before and after.
There we go. Nebraska Brewing Company, world class in every glass. Don't go anywhere. This is WTL. And welcome back, everybody, to WTL. Where's the Line? Nebraska's first and only sports betting show. I'm your host, Andy Klassen, joined by
Jabron.
Oh, the parlay pounder.
You got it.
And, we're smack dab in the middle of summer, so
Yeah.
we got to just keep talking about the NFL.
Football.
Betting football, passing football, all of it. The NFL is a freight train, and
Yes.
we're on board.
We're on board.
We're talking divisional winners. These lines have come out. They've sparked a lot of talk, like they always do. So we're gonna talk about it too.
Yeah.
And let's get on over to the AFC North. This is such a good division.
It is.
I mean,
Always has been.
From top to bottom, you can't overlook the Cleveland Browns anymore. I believe that.
Yeah.
Cincinnati Bengals are getting Joe Burrow back, right?
Yep.
Baltimore Ravens look so good.
Yeah, the MVP.
At times with Lamar Jackson. Oh, and by the way, we're going to start from the bottom up.
Yeah.
Team that actually won the division last year.
Correct.
The Pittsburgh Steelers, they're bringing up the rear here.
Who?
Who? The Steelers, who? Plus 1,200 right now to win the NFC North. And what is going on? I mean, they went 5-1 in the division last year.
Yep.
What happened?
Well, it kind of looks like, Andy, that they had a little bit of change in quarterback.
They don't have Mason Rudolph
They
anymore?
don't have any of those guys anymore, Andy. And it seems like it's kind of a different team altogether. And it looks like I'm on the side of they're going to be very bad.
You think they're going to be very bad? So
I think they're going to be very bad.
They made a couple, the biggest,
Couple of them.
a couple changes here at quarterback. So they did bring in Russell Wilson. That's the headliner,
Yeah.
right? And talk about, oh boy, the boomer bust.
Yeah.
I thought he was actually looking pretty good for Denver last year when
Yeah.
Denver's like, no, we've seen enough. You're benched. We don't care about winning 3 games in a row. We don't care what you're
I'm
doing.
going to pay you. Get out.
Yeah, we're Sean Payton.
Not
just
doing
felt
it
like,
again. Not doing it again.
It almost felt like he was like an athletic director that was hired to fire a coach.
Exactly.
Like they brought in that coach to fire the quarterback.
Exactly. He was just
It's
out
weird.
on him. Didn't like the way he played it. Didn't
Yeah.
like the play. It wasn't his quarterback, so he's out on him.
Okay, so double down now.
Yeah.
If you're a Pittsburgh Steeler, you're like, okay, we got Russell Wilson. We believe in him. Well, let's pick up another quarterback nobody wants. Justin Fields from Chicago.
Yeah, Andy.
He hit the open market, and it was just crickets. It for me, as a Bears fan, it validated
What
the
everybody's
Bears,
thinking.
Yep, not paying him, not giving him that big contract that you heard on talk radio everywhere. Like, oh, they should pay him. He doesn't have a line, this and that. That he was totally validated when he hit the open market and no one ponied up to scoop him off. Finally, the Pittsburgh Steelers signed him, and it feels like an insurance policy to Russell Wilson with like this contingency plan where
Play good or you're done.
and maybe take the starting role.
Exactly.
We
Andy.
wouldn't mind that.
No.
Which is a weird thing to do if you're going to pay a
pay
veteran.
Russ.
Yeah, if you're going to pay Russ,
Yeah.
what are you doing here? So I just think the confusion at the top. I do like what they did in the draft. They got that big dude in the first round
No
out
doubt.
of Washington, that offensive lineman, came right back around in the second round and got Zach Frazier, that big dude out of interior offensive lineman out of West Virginia. Those were great picks.
No doubt.
But
no matter who your quarterback is, that's a great pick.
Those are great picks, and it's so prototypical Steelers. So I like I always do, I like what the Steelers are doing on so many levels. The quarterback spot has me scratching my head.
No doubt about it, Andy. And lost one of their big weapons. Deontay Johnson is gone, obviously.
Okay.
But the way I look at this, Andy, you can say they went 5-1 in the division last year
They
and all
did.
that kind of
They
stuff.
did.
But they swept the Ravens and the Bengals. Obviously, Bengals without Joe Burrow and the Ravens banged up at times. Two of the best teams in the NFL when those guys are healthy.
Right.
That's not going to happen again.
Okay.
These guys are going to be on the bottom.
Okay.
They split with the Browns last year, and they ended up trailing them, They won 10, lost 7 games last year, also trailing Baltimore 13-4 last year, and Cleveland 11-6. So I just don't believe there's any room for it. Yeah, the one bet that you were talking about, Andy, that I think is kind of cool is week 1 starting quarterback. Russell Wilson is the big favorite at minus 700. Obviously, they brought him in to start.
Yeah.
But like you said, if they see something out of Justin Fields in camp, in preseason that they like, he's plus 450 right now. So sometimes I like going with the younger model of what you have. Not saying that he is Russell Wilson, but he does show flashes that he is just as good sometimes.
Sometimes he
and
flashed.
Maybe a change of scenery is just what he needs.
He flashed in Chicago numerous times on numerous occasions. He beat the 49ers week 1 a couple seasons ago,
did.
right?
When they went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, when they went to the Super Bowl, and the Bears could say, "Yeah, we took him down."
Yeah, we took him down. Week 1
so,
in the mud.
So yeah, it's not out of the realm at that plus 450 that Justin Fields could get the nod week 1 to get the start. I mean, they brought him in there for a reason. Stranger things have happened.
No doubt about it.
Should we move on up the division here?
The Brownies.
The Cleveland Browns are sitting in the 3-hole at a plus 550. You gotta like Stefanski and what he's doing and how he's built that team and how he's coaching that team. Love the defensive mindedness. They got a trigger man in there. I just don't think they're in a spot where they can win this division.
No.
With a healthy. You want to assume that Joe Burrow is going to be healthy.
Yeah.
He is right now. But it's summer.
Yeah.
And the Ravens, Lamar Jackson, reigning MVP, looks so good.
No, I just think there still could be a quarterback conundrum in Cleveland, Andy. Deshaun Watson, shoulder injury last season. Joe Flacco came in, carried the Browns to the playoffs, winning comeback player of the year in the process. Watson is figured to be the starter, but how short is his leash going to be is my thing.
It's like $300 million guaranteed dollars or something. That's a pretty long leash, I would think.
But we're seeing the same thing with Kirk Cousins and all this kind of stuff. I just don't. I don't believe in Deshaun Watson. I don't believe in the Cleveland Browns under Deshaun Watson. So he was 5-1.
It's been a long time.
He was 5-1 as a starter before. Before Flacco and all that kind of stuff. But
then Flacco went 4-1.
Yeah, so I think it's something to keep an eye on as Deshaun Watson kind of tanking this team and putting them back right where the Browns need to be, and that's at last place in this division.
They went 3-3 last year.
Yep.
Split with the Steelers, who actually won the division. Weird. I just feel like Deshaun Watson, he is uber talented.
Yeah.
And he's been humbled in a severe way. The NFL, they don't mess around, especially when you start talking jazz about the team that drafted you, the team that's hired you.
No doubt.
And he felt that cover, just totally taken off.
For sure.
When Houston's like, all right, we'll unload you.
Yeah.
And Cleveland, over the years, has been the place quarterbacks go to die.
Yes.
But Joe Flacco maybe turn that around. We'll see. I do think Joe Flacco's... That was a flash. I really feel like there's no way that's sustainable again.
No doubt about it.
So this might be where the value is at here in the NFC North. That is the Cincinnati Bengals at a plus 160, right behind the Ravens, who are also at plus money. But right now, I think you have to like what the Bengals have.
Yeah.
It all is on Burrow, and can he stay on the field?
Yeah, the whole thing, Andy, is that can the Bengals finally avoid the 0-2 start to the season? They've been doing this for years and years and years.
Yep.
The Week 2 matchup in Kansas City will make that difficult, obviously, but at least Joe Burrow gets to open up the season against a rebuilding Patriots team, Andy. So I think the schedule was always going to be tough, thanks to the nasty AFC North. But the Bengals will only play 3 teams outside their division that had a winning record last year.
Yep.
So I like the Cincinnati Bengals to not only – I think they'll probably win this division this year, but the big bet that I love for the Cincinnati Bengals is over 10.5 wins right now. I believe 10.5. I think they're going to win upwards of 13 to 14 games this year if Joe Burrow can stay healthy. And I know that's a big if, but we've seen him do it before. I believe they end 13-4 and win this division.
And I'm giving a lot of love to Joe Burrow, and why wouldn't you? But when he was a starter, he went 0-3 in the division last year.
He did.
And then they went 1-2 in the division without him, trying to figure something out.
Yep.
So there are things there to pause.
Yep.
It just feels like I like the strength of schedule, getting back to it, and also it's set up in a way where they don't have to start 0-2, 0-3 like they've been doing ever since they went on that Super Bowl run.
Yes.
And that Super Bowl run feels like forever ago now, dropping that to the LA Rams.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I like the Bengals. Joe Burrow's healthy. They have the superstars to make plays. I just think they're the best team in this division, top to bottom. But that's kind of sneezing at the Baltimore Ravens.
I was going to say, well, let's talk about the Ravens. They're your favorite at a plus 110. So still plus money, not like the NFC West and the 49ers way out in front. Plus 110 is your bet if you believe in the Ravens.
Yeah, Andy, and they actually struggled in the division last year that we were alluding to, going 500 on the season. They still they lost 3 division games by a combined of 16 points and won their 3 division games by a combined total of 42 points.
That's so Lamar Jackson.
It is. It's so Ravens. It's like, sometimes they show up.
That's so
Raven. No. But no, they can blow teams out when they want to blow teams out, especially the bottom tier like the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns in this in Cincinnati when Joe Burrow's not there. So I think they're going to have to put their disappointing AFC Championship aside and really hunker down for this AFC North title, because I believe the Bengals are out for blood right now, and
might be their year.
And if the Browns are a healthy team too, they could repeat as champions as well. I mean, repeat as contenders again. So I really think it's going to be a tough year for Lamar Jackson. I think he's going to come in kind of free and easy after the MVP. And just think it's kind of his division.
And that, and then you're kind of setting the guy up there for failure, which is only one way to go when you're at the top, and that's down. And he is at the top right now with MVP. I thought he deserved it. And he kind of willed his team to a lot of victories. And you mentioned the point differential there. So the losses weren't bad, but the wins were phenomenal.
Yes.
Like that was Sports Center highlight after highlight after highlight.
Yes, it is.
And that's what people remember.
That is what he is.
And I think that has a lot to do with them being your favorites right now to win this division. That's what people remember.
No doubt. And they're rightfully at the top. I'm just saying I believe the value is there for the Cincinnati Bengals with their roster, with their quarterback, and with the strength of schedule this year, I believe they get 10.5 wins.
I think they can get 10.5, and I also think the Bengals, I think there's a world where the Bengals can win this division, and the Ravens still get to 10.5. There's an outside shot that all 4 of these teams could make the playoffs.
No doubt about it.
There really is.
No doubt about it.
And I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever if 3 teams make the playoffs from this division.
No doubt about it, Andy. And if you're looking real crazy at the Ravens and Bengals, you have to look at Super Bowl futures. Just real quick, they got them right there, plus 900. For the Baltimore Ravens, Cincinnati Bengals a little bit better, plus 1,300. These are 2 teams that will be there in the playoffs, I believe. 2 good bets going into the season.
It always feels like the Ravens are just 1 or 2 games away from that Super Bowl every freaking year.
Every year.
So you wouldn't be crazy to go that route, and we've seen the Bengals do it before.
Yes, we have.
Well, that'll about do it for us this week, folks. Be sure to follow us on ESPN Tri-City Radio and their Facebook page. We're also on Twitter. It's X. It's X now. It is
That's
X.
why you can't say it.
They moved the website. It's actually X.
It's X.
Good.
It's going to give it to you.
Good for you. Actually, good for you, Elon, shelling out the money and buying X.com. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out over there. It's fun making all the short videos, feature-length videos as well. Jake Bartecki's always holding it down with the NASCAR.
NASCAR picks, baby.
Man, that guy gets after it.
He gets it.
And also receive your free daily picks over on TikTok. You're holding down TikTok?
Yes, for sure. At WTL Sports Betting, make sure you look for us for primetime picks on any games going on during the weekend.
For Jabron, the Parlay Pounder, I'm Andy Klassen. Thank you for listening. This has been WTL.